to speak now of Forever Hold Your Peace. I would just like to say a big thank you for watching my debut video on this last week, which was centred around rape and the Kwesi Chedakwa saga that's been going on concerning the alleged rape of a 19-year-old. Now, I had intended to just do that story and move on to other topics, which I will move on to other topics, but the whole situation in Ghana and the way issues are being reported and discussions that are going on, and personal messages that have been sent to me via email, phone calls, you name it, it has led me to look at this issue in more depth and to analyse some of the things that have come out or are ongoing from this case. So what I'm going to do is just give a brief outline of some of the things that have popped up from these discussions. One of them being the reaction of a rape victim and how people, quite a few people, felt that if somebody has been raped that they should behave in a particular way. Now, I had quite an in-depth discussion with a few people about this, and I said, look, we are all individuals. Even as an individual, you don't respond in exactly the same way every single time something traumatic happens to you. So for us to say the person didn't shout isn't helpful in being able to ascertain what has actually gone on. People suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. If, for those of you that don't know, go and Google it and go and have a quick read on what that means for somebody that has suffered trauma, the time in which they respond to that trauma. Sometimes it could be just a scent, an aroma can actually trigger a memory that will transport somebody into a place where they really have to face something traumatic that they have been subjected to. And the other thing was that I noticed, and was quite apparent in the discussions, is that we place the responsibility on the victim not to be a victim. So in other words, if somebody is a victim of an attack, then we automatically blame them. And this has come up so much even today when I was discussing this issue with somebody. The first thing that was said was, but why did she? Not why did he? And again, I need to make it explicitly clear that this is not about me saying this person is guilty, this person is innocent. This issue for me is actually wider than Kwesi Chedakwa and the 19-year-old victim. There are many alleged Kwesi Chedakwas and there are many alleged 19-year-old victims. We need to create a system that allows us to cater for both parties in the right way, legally, in terms of giving support emotionally, mentally, psychologically. We don't do too well on those subjects in Africa. We do believe that anything to do with psychology is essentially, a fabrication of the white man. It's not. We are all human beings. Once you have emotions and you have a brain, then you are going to make a connection between the two. And sometimes you or I need help to be able to work through things that cause us pain or cause us distress. Now, the other thing that came up during the many posts on the page was the fact that what is being reported is that there was rough sex involved. And I had a discussion and I said, well, I would take some convincing that a 19-year-old alleged virgin would be able to vocalize a preference on what they would want sexually. I mean, I'm not being funny, I'm a woman in my 40s. There are women my age that are still discovering what they like sexually. Let's go there. So for a 19-year-old virgin to be able to determine what they want sexually, I don't buy it. And I don't buy it because the fact that somebody is a virgin shows that there's a level of inexperience. It gives a connotation that the person has some element of innocence. So that in mind, breaking your virginity for anyone, nobody is born bad. Nobody is born with experience. You learn experience through life, through what you're taught, what you're told, and what you see. So typically, and I want the women especially, and even actually I want men and women to think of this. Guys, those of you that have, slept with a virgin, you tell me how you feel that such a person would actually say to you that I want rough sex as a 19-year-old, as somebody that's inexperienced, and I'm happy not having any prior relationship with you, I'm happy for you to initiate this kind of sexual contact without knowing you, without knowing what your definition of rough sex is. One man's definition of rough sex will greatly differ from another person. So I think it's really important to be able to just explore that. I'm not here to make the prosecution's case or the defense, but what I am saying is, once again, I want you to think and look at things in context. Does it make sense? Is it likely? Is it possible? Is it probable? Or would it rather be likely that even if the person, let's say we even do take that argument, for somebody to say as a virgin, yes, I want to have rough sex with you, it would be quite reasonable to assume that the contact would have been painful because a person is a virgin, and 9 times out of 10 it is a painful encounter. Would it not be more likely that during that encounter that person would say, stop, it's too painful? It'd be painful anyway, even when you are being very gentle. So having an added dimension of roughness in a bathroom, not even in the bedroom, just think about it. The other thing that has come up for me is the amount of information that's in the public domain. I am extremely uncomfortable about that. For both parties. I don't think it does the alleged perpetrator any favours, and I think it really does infringe on the dignity of the victim. I don't understand, because I don't live in Ghana, I don't understand why the information about somebody's medical records, about what has happened in intricate detail, is out there in the public domain. I think it would be far more helpful if some things were kept out of the public eye, and this is why the case is being tried by the public, so to speak. You're having, you know, different camps. For me, and I will stand by this, and people have tried to draw me into conversations and debates on what I think. What I think is irrelevant. What is relevant is the wider issue of how do we support victims of rape? How do we raise our young men to understand moral standards? How do we challenge cultural things that we have been raised on? Because when we're talking about a 19-year-old and a 49-year-old, and we're saying that, oh, but didn't she know this and didn't she know that? Let's not be hypocritical here as Ghanaians, and I'll tell you what I mean by that. Our whole society is based on respecting the elder. Our sayings, the way we speak to children, the way we deal with family conflicts, the fact that you have to go and get an elder, everything is based on an elder and a child. We have sayings like penindifo, meaning an adult is never wrong. We have sayings like meaning if your mother and father are still alive, you're never grown. My mum's one, which was a favourite, was meaning if the calf becomes bigger than the thigh, then it's because there's a sickness. In other words, as a child, you cannot feel that you have more wisdom than an adult. That is how we have raised our society. So for that reason, when we are in a situation where it's sexual, those dynamics don't change. We have a system very much based on performance and reward. And because it's a performance and reward system, if you are instilling that value, for want of a better expression, in a child, and they grow with it, it doesn't change when you put it into the sexual domain. Do this and I'll give you that. And it comes to a point where the child feels, or the young adult feels, if they do this, I will get that. The other thing, and you know, some of these things are very, they're wider topics, and it's not something that I can put in a 10-minute video post, and you know, until I'm actually in a position to explore these things in greater detail, I would just give you snippets. You can go onto the fan page where we can actually discuss it in greater detail. The other thing that has disturbed me greatly is the fact that we would describe a 19-year-old as an adult. Again, but in greater detail on that particular point is the fact that she should have known, she should be able to anticipate cause and effect. I disagree. This same 19-year-old you could take to America, for example, and she would not be allowed to drink alcohol. Why? Because as much as she is deemed an adult, in certain respects she is still seen as a child. I cannot see why we would be so willing as a society to accept that 19-year-olds are now adults when it comes to sex. If anything, I think as a society, and looking at our culture, we really do need to address that. We need to ask ourselves, why are we so willing to make our children so sexually responsible and aware in their teens? And I think that we need to look at the way we put that message out there, and the way we put out that message even to our boys, for them to also see how they play into this whole situation, because it's about responsibility. Where do we teach about affection? Where do we teach about responsibility? Where do we teach about lasting and meaningful relationships? You cannot teach about sex, or you cannot be responsible about sex, if you do not look at the other connecting factors. And those are the connecting factors, and those are really important. So as we are changing this format, so to speak, just to follow this case and see the issues that arise around it and address it, I think it would be really good to be able to have that interaction, and again go back to the drawing board, question and reevaluate some of our preconceived ideas and challenge them. We aren't cattle. If we are faced with a situation, question it. One person posted on the fan page, "I don't believe she's naive. I believe she knew what she was doing." That's fine. On what basis do you make that statement? Because what you should be saying is, "I believe because, I think because." Don't just say, "I just think." What's your thought process? Let us understand it. Let's explore it. So, you know, with that in mind, when anything else that's, you know, interesting that comes up on this topic, you know, obviously Kwesi Dakwa has gone and applied for bail. It's been refused for the second time. There are issues concerning, you know, human rights, the fact that rape is not a bailable offence, but at the same time having to look at other dimensions of what he is entitled to, because admittedly he has never been convicted of such a crime before. In the eyes of the law, he is a first offender, irrespective of whatever stories I may be privy to or other parts of the media. Now, there's a very, very intelligent gentleman whose name I would like to mention, William Nyarko, spelt N-Y-A-R-K-O, that's the surname, and he's a lawyer currently residing in the US. He has written a fantastic post on Kwesi Dakwa. I think it's really, really interesting, and he's giving, you know, feedback out there from a legal perspective. I think it's worth watching. So that's me. I know I've really rushed this because I am really conscious not to, you know, keep you for too long. I would like to thank you for the very positive feedback I received from the first video, and just stay with me and keep watching. Thank you very much.